Good morning, everyone. My name is Cora Robinson, and I'll be your Get Fit host this year. Our Get Fit Challenge, sponsored by Kaiser Permanente, is all about developing healthy habits, taking time for fitness, and making friends along the way. Make sure you download our app MoveSpring to join in the challenge and join in the fun. This morning, I'm excited to kick off our 30-day challenge with chamber members and marriage and family therapist duo, Bernard and Priscilla Chen. Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. How are you this morning?
Thank you. We're doing well.
Great. Yeah. We could just get started if you tell me a little bit about you guys and your business.
Sure. Well, my name is Bernard, and I'm here with my wife, Priscilla, today. We're both marriage and family therapists, and we have a private practice together in Mission Valley. Some of our specialties are focused on family issues, family of origin. Priscilla specializes in trauma as well. She's trained to do EMDR therapy. She also has a specialty in eating disorders. Right now, we're trying to focus on a specialty called combined couples therapy, where we will meet with a couple as a pair. So you have two therapists in the room.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. We're also eager to hear a little bit about your stress management tips. I know a lot of us are struggling with this post-pandemic sort of phase that we're in. So what are the fears or stressors that you think are affecting people most during this time?
I think the biggest thing right now is trying to understand, I think there's two parts. One is trying to understand what just happened. We just had the last 3 years. We're in March 2023, so that's officially 3 whole years since the COVID pandemic started for many of us. And just trying to, even having time to think about what happened and what we went through is a big challenge for people. So there's a big delay or a big lag in people's emotions and processing all those issues and all those events. The second part would be trying to figure out, what do I do now? So things are settling down now, things are pretty much all open. And so you can go out and live your life now, but I think a lot of people are still unsure about how to do that.
Yeah, the pandemic changed all of our lives sort of in a complete way, and definitely impacted our relationships, especially between families and friends. What are some changes that you've seen relationally after the pandemic?
I think one of the big ones is people just went through a period of turning inward towards themselves, and that could have been either positive or negative.
Sure.
If it was positive, then you spent time reflecting about your life, your situation, and hopefully you started to have a view or come up with a plan of what you want to do and how you want to live once everything gets settled, which is now. And if it was negative, then you ended up, I think, becoming more and more stuck because there wasn't a lot of stuff available to do. And maybe you were dealing with a crisis in your life as well. I know during the lockdowns, one of the things that I noticed at a different job was that substance use was increasing at home, including for people who were trying to stay sober and they were having a hard time. And so relapses also increased during this period. What are some examples of kind of positive and negative changes that you've seen with your clients?
For me, with my clients, a lot of the mental health issues actually got worse because everything was over video now. So everybody was making this 180 change from everything in person. Like for me, for instance, like I was at the time at my job, I was working in person and working with a lot of college students. Lockdown came and everybody had to go back home. So, and that was out of state. So it was like we had to cut therapy short, and then like, okay, I have to go back home now, and then trying to find resources for them. And that's always really hard because the therapists were also making that shift of like, okay, now we're doing Zoom now.
Right.
So that was a difficult one for them. In terms of like positive stuff that I've seen was that I did have an influx of clients that came over like, okay, well, everything's kind of frozen right now in time. So it's a good time for me to actually focus on myself and actually try to work on myself and see like, what areas can I work on right now for growth and just like bettering myself. So that was a good change.
Yeah, sure. Positives and negatives.
Yeah.
It's good to know. So pandemic aside, how can our audience tackle day-to-day stressors? Just things that come up, kind of nag at us, those things.
I would say the biggest thing that is in our control would be our time management. One of the things that a lot of people learned, I think, from staying at home, if you had the opportunity to work at home, you may have found out actually just how much free time that you have,
Mhm.
and also how many hours you actually work. You may have heard studies that say that in a regular office job, people only work at most 4 or 6 hours in the day, and the rest of the time is doing other random stuff. And so that idea that either got better or worse for you. So there are people who feel like they became a lot more productive from working from home because of being able to control more things about when you wake up, um, setting up the environment that you like at home. And then there are people who kind of we can call it they got lost into having all that free time was actually overwhelming for them. And they didn't actually know what to do because when you're in an office, you have all these different things trying to get your attention, like people and emails and phone calls. But if you were just at home by yourself, I think that made things very uncomfortable for a lot of people. So if you want to make a change now, I would say the first thing to do is just take an inventory of what your time actually looks like in your day. And that might be different from each day of the week. And try to see if how you're spending your time is either, we can call it, giving you your energy, or it's taking away your energy. And you might find there are a lot of things that you're doing just because you're used to it that are not actually helpful for you. Or there might be things that you ended up doing during the pandemic that maybe you should probably try to reduce because we're in a different situation now.
Certainly.
So yeah, time management.
I wanted to add to that actually, because what I've noticed, like another con that happened with COVID coming, was that a lot of structure was taken out, especially for that transition of like working from home. So everybody had to kind of like reestablish that structure and kind of adapt to working from home. And now that the pandemic has kind of wound down a little bit, some people are returning to work in person. So like that is going to feel like another adjustment because we just had 3 years of like not doing that. So yeah, like Bernard was saying, like taking an inventory of like what your time looks like, and reestablishing what structure might look like for you is probably going to be a good place to start.
Yeah, it seems like structure is a big part of all of this as we sort of transition into this next chapter.
I think we thrive off of structure.
I think so too.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wanted to share a quick example actually from our own life. So we got married during the pandemic. We got married last, thank you.
Last year.
Last October. And the year before that, I was working by myself in our practice, or it was just my practice at the time. And I was working from home most of the time. And there were a lot of things in my schedule that were just like not working out. But I felt like I had to do it based on the situation. For example, I was working on Saturdays. I was taking clients on Saturdays just to try and like build up quickly or to make myself available to people. And you can tell, thinking back, like how that really affected my stress levels throughout the week, because I was going through the week working and meeting with people, working from home. And that was leading up to Saturday when I had to work again. So like that really didn't feel good for my mindset. I was also putting appointments in all kinds of different times in the day just to kind of make sure that I had something to do. But that also created problems because everything was so irregular, depending on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and there was no good way for me to even like control like my sleep schedule. So I would say one of the benefits of controlling your time management would be your sleep quality. That's going to be one of the results that people should be aiming for. And so when it got closer for us to get married, that was actually an opportunity for me to like redo my whole schedule and have it still make sense to the clients, like why we had to make all these big sweeping changes. So the big one is we don't work on Saturdays anymore. That's a big change for us.
For ourselves.
Setting boundaries of when you are working and when you aren't is another example of time management, so that we're not just kind of drifting through the day, like sort of on the computer and sort of not. I think a lot of people just kind of floated through the last 3 years living like this and going through the motions. We also have certain times in the day that we do actually go outside and go to the office. So we do want to emphasize in-person therapy sessions from now on. If anyone is in San Diego locally, reaching out to us, we do always try to bring up that the in-office sessions are available, and we try to gently and professionally kind of push people towards that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think.
Mhm. Very cool. Yeah, it sounds like we're in a time where a lot of adjustments can be made to push us in a more positive
Mhm.
direction. Mhm. So if there's any one piece of advice that you want anyone to take away from today, this is the only thing they hear in the entire live broadcast, what would that be?
There's a lot of things. Do you have one?
Well, for me, this is something that I tell my clients. too.
Sure.
I'm like, plan your self-care or you're planning for your burnout.
Mm.
That's it.
That's a good one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you have to be intentional about which one you want to happen to you. One of the things that I've been telling people is that in the world or in society in general, because things are settling down away from the pandemic, there's going to be a revival in society, but also a decline. And both are happening at the same time based on the choices that people are making. And this is why I think things are still feeling confusing for a lot of people, because you might know people who their lives got a lot worse, their health, their relationships, their family, and then there are people who did extremely well in the last 3 years. They worked the most that they ever have, they've made the most money that they ever have, and so it can be very confusing, like, why did things get better for some people but not? I think it has a lot to do with the choices that you made, or the choices that were available to you. So you want to expand your opportunities and your toolboxes to make things better. I think one of the top things that people did was move. So maybe you were living in a certain situation, and you moved to a different city or state, or if you could work from home, you tried to be closer to the people in your family and other important relationships. And that really helped kind of improve things for a lot of people. Maybe you got a different job, you changed jobs during the pandemic because there was all this reshuffling of who was working and who wasn't. And so I think actually both of those things happened to me. I moved to a different place to live, and I also changed jobs. You also changed jobs as well. And then so now we've gotten married, and that's another big change that is an improvement, I think, for us. But yeah, overall, it's really important to kind of fight for the life that you want. Like, life isn't just going to happen for you or get better for you. I think that became really clear during the pandemic. And I think an example of if you're someone who got more stuck in the last 3 years, or things got worse for you, it might be because you were sitting at home and waiting and just hoping for things to get better, or hoping for things to change from the outside. I think what we're trying to say today is that change starts in your own mind by, changing what you want and what you think is important to you, or returning to certain things that used to be important and kind of recommitting to those. That might be time management, boundaries with your schedule, your sleep quality. And I think another big area that we haven't gotten to today is the relationship part. So time with people, spending time with people, that's one of the biggest changes and stressors that happens to all of us, I think, losing connection with the people in our lives. And so I think one of the big takeaways that we want to share today also is that overall, anything in person will be better than online. It's kind of funny because we're speaking to all of you online right now, and we do wish that this could have been a live event or a live workshop. But if there's any way that for you to go out and be around people, I think that will make a big difference.
Definitely, yeah.
COVID really took that away for a lot of people, because like everything about having to shelter in place and stuff like that. So I did see there was a spike in loneliness actually when pandemic hit, because there was like, okay, everybody's back home, or everybody is out of state and just very, very far away. And it was really hard to even romantic relationships or family relationships, like everybody was very separated. So even when they were doing like phone calls or FaceTime, it still wasn't the same as maybe gathering for a meal together or like going out for an outing. So I think reestablishing some of those relationships that we have for in-person contact would be also very helpful in terms of like rebuilding that emotional connection.
Yeah, very good. Great. Well, it sounds like you guys are taking new clients, and it sounds like, as we're moving toward this sort of new era post-pandemic, if anybody wants to connect with you or schedule an appointment, where can they find you? What's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so our website is www.bernardpriscilla.com. It's just our first names, bernardpriscilla.com. The first 5 people who contact us through this webinar and mention the Get Fit SD program will get a free 20-minute stress management strategy session with us. And also, anyone who contacts us during this month-long program with Get Fit SD and mentions the app or this program will get 50% off on all sessions.
Very cool. Great. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate you being here. Again, if you want to get in touch with him, it's bernardpriscilla.com. That's all. That's all we have for today. Have a great Monday. We'll be here all month. See you next week. If you have anything else, or if you want to check out any of our other events or upcoming webinars, you can check out getfitsd.org. Thanks.